Hello ladies and gentlemen, and today in episode 2 of Sum Up, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite franchises of all time, Sly Cooper, because we're reviewing, you guessed it, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time. Okay, so here's some context to this episode of Sum Up. Now, it's no secret to anyone that I'm a massive fan of the Sly Cooper franchise. It was literally one of those franchises back in the day when I was a wee little Urzaban that got me into gaming and made me a massive fan of gaming. So I owe a lot to Sly Cooper, and I'm not gonna lie, that's gonna make my opinion biased a little bit, but I am definitely going to step back and criticize this game if it needs to be. So with that being said, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time was the return to the franchise by a new developer, and it almost left me heartbroken simply due to the fact that I couldn't play this game due to only having a 360. So now that I do own a PS3, have the game, it's time to finally review Sly Cooper Thieves in Time! And I'm probably gonna say the name like that every time because I just like doing that and being ridiculous in my videos. So yeah, let's go ahead and move right into the production. So when talking about the production of Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, also known as Sly 4 by all of the fans, I have to admit I was kind of worried simply due to the fact that Sucker Punch always had a great level of polish and skill in all areas of the game, so you have to wonder if the new developer Sanzaru is going to step up to the plate and do as good of a job, if not better, than the original developers. So after playing both the HD collection and Sly 4, I can honestly say that they learned what a Sly game had to be with the HD collection, then Sly 4 was their damn near perfect execution of it. So to affirm what I've just stated, for the $40 that this game costed at launch, I honestly can say that it feels like a full AAA release while not being a full AAA release with its level of quality and polish in the production. Let's go ahead and hone in on that. Okay, so right out of the gate, I have to commend Sly 4's graphical style a lot, simply due to the fact that it maintains the awesome comic book art style of the previous Sly games, while giving it all of the modern facelift that it needs to be a modern day release, simply due to the fact that the textures are way better, the character models are way better, the environments look way better, but all maintain the style that you've come to know and love with Sly, so it makes this great graphical package that just works, and I have no real issues with the graphics, so let's go ahead and segue into the voice acting. So if I had to use one term to describe the voice acting in this game, I would have to go with stellar, simply due to the fact that everyone does a good job in this game, and then the main three voice actors for Bentley, Sly, and Murray all come back for this game and have the same sound and chemistry that they did before, and now Carmelita finally has a voice actress that's worth a damn that can maintain the thick Latina accent that her character is supposed to have while not giving up voice quality to do so, and works better with the theme of the game, and hearing these four characters go back and forth for the amazing chemistry that they have with the voice acting quality across the board is absolutely fucking great.
As I told you, Bentley, a loathsome creature does indeed guard the castle.
Well, if that's true, advanced geological theory indicates the only place this boat monster could hide is inside that cavern.
Forsooth! Perhaps also because it is the only cavern in the area?
Right. If this thing exists at all, it all sounds like superstitious nonsense.
You doubt the veracity of my tale? Then allow me to vanquish this evil beast and quell your disbelief!
Whoa, wait a sec, Gallup. Just navigating that cave's interior could be hazardous to your health.
Nay, Bentley. Fear not. I will show you the true valor of the Cooper name. Carmelita, what are you doing?
Relax, Ringtail. Just keeping tabs on the Dragon Slayer.
I don't recall you watching my back on any jobs.
Only when I'm trying to catch you. But I find Galeth charming. He has a good heart, even if he is a headstrong goof.
Then you better get going before Sir Goof gets himself captured again.
And then all of the side characters do a great job as well, doing all of their lines and roles, so the voice acting comes together into this very stellar package, like I said. So with all of that tied in, how's the overall sound theme for the rest of the game? I'd say overall the sound theme for this game is pretty good overall, in the simple fact that it fits the Sly theme with its elegant heist themes that are in the high octane moments while having the nice slower paced scores for the open worlds and lesser missions, but being able to fit everything when it needs to. And I would most definitely give you a sound clip to give you an example of how it does this. Unfortunately, I would most likely get a copyright strike from YouTube if I do so, and I don't feel like risking it, so you have to take my word for it. I really wish you didn't, but unfortunately that's how it is on this website. So with that being said, the sound score is great, and what problems are there with the production now that I've really had nothing bad to say about it? Honestly, there's only two main problems with the production. There's a couple bugs in this game that will make sound disappear at key times in the middle of gameplay and or cutscenes, and it can be very weird when that happens. So this is just another Saturday.
Like, it's Saturday, I'm ready to go home. You can't hear it either, can you? I guess this is a game glitching because it's not coming out on TV either.
And then the loading screens for this game take way too long, simply due to the fact that some areas will take a full 1.5 to 2 minutes to load in, which is really ridiculous given when this game came out, and the simple fact that it's not even that graphically pressing on the game too. It's just very disappointing to see loading screens this long. But all in all, the production's pretty fucking great, so let's go ahead and cycle straight onto the gameplay. Okay, so fair warning here, when I talk about the gameplay for Sly Cooper Thieves in Time especially, I kinda have to be a bit vague because there's nothing new at the core level to the gameplay. There's just a whole bunch of small changes, so I want to get the base gameplay out of the way so I can cover the small changes and see if they were worth it or not. So Sly at its root has always been since 2, where you have an open world that's a hub for an episode, then you use this hub to basically get from mission to mission, hunt for collectibles, and use it to build up to an overall heist that will require everyone on your team. So, how does this work for Sly 4 across the different teammates? Now, I'd say for the most part it works out pretty well, though to get these massive heists done, your teammates have to work together to get it done, so let me explain their different roles. Sly's the biggest field man out of the group, meaning a lot of the platforming, sneaking around, and resource gathering will be done by him. Bentley's the brains of the operation, meaning a lot of the planning, reconnaissance, technical missions, and on-rails vehicle sections will be done by him with RC vehicles. And then you have Murray, who's the getaway driver and the muscle of the team, who will do a lot of the fighting, heavy lifting, and driving sections. Then you have Carmelita, who's a bit of a sharpshooter and fighter, meaning she can hang back or go in close. And then you have Sly's ancestors that are basically the same thing as Sly from a gameplay standpoint, but have their own unique ability and don't have disguises. So with all that being said, how's the gameplay split up between these team members? Unlike 2 and 3, where it felt like it kind of balanced out to a reasonable level for everyone except for a few of the late game characters in 3, it feels like 68% of the game was just given to Sly and his ancestors, then Bentley and Murray took up most of the chunk that was left, and then Carmelita got the tiniest little slice, which I'm really upset about because Carmelita is a really important character. She's finally part of the team, and then she only gets like 2 or 3 gameplay sections where she's even utilized, and they're pretty short ones at that too, so it feels like her character is more of an afterthought to get onto the team. So outside of those 3 sections in free roaming, you really do not use Carmelita almost at all, and I'm kind of upset about that because I like her controls, I like her character, I like what she adds to the team. It's just unfortunately not utilized in the game. So moving off of that, I'd say the rest of it works out pretty well between sneaking, on-rail sections, vehicle sections, platforming, getting collectibles to open up safes, treasure for more coins to get more abilities for your teammates on ThiefNet and things like that. It all works together, and now we have a couple additions to the gameplay, such as disguises adding abilities now, and rhythm sections in a couple parts, so it works out pretty well overall. Let me go ahead and talk about the few things that this gameplay gets wrong. Okay, so right off the bat with the gameplay, we have the immediate problem that I said of Carmelia being extremely underutilized despite her being a very important character to the lore and story. Then the ancestors feel more or less just like skins of Sly from a gameplay standpoint, and then the only other real major complaint I have beyond that is when the game tries to shove 6-axis motion controls down your throat, which feels pretty lame considering this game came out in 2013, you know, the last year of the PS3, and they're still pushing those motion controls, and it just makes the game feel way more clunky when you gotta deal with them in those sections. But beyond that, across the game's 7-hour runtime, I really don't have many issues with the gameplay, and it feels like a very complete version of the Sly 2 and 3 formula, so let's cycle into the story. Okay, so here we are at the story section of the review, aka my favorite section because I've always loved talking about game stories, lore, and story details a lot simply because I get really invested into it if I like the story, but I do acknowledge that the other parts of the game are just as important. So, how's the story fare for Sly Cooper Thieves in Time, or as I've been sarcastically saying it the whole time, Sly Cooper Thieves in Time! I'd say pretty well, because it actually goes after angles left open by the previous game in the franchise, Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves, and the angles of time travel and Sly really not having amnesia, and sets up a pretty decent plot. So let's go ahead and sum up the plot. Here's the basic plot synopsis of Sly 4. It basically takes place roughly 2 to 3 years after the events of Sly 3 Honor Among Thieves, where the Cooper gang's gone their separate ways and are enjoying a quiet life, where Bentley's doing science experiments with Penelope, Murray's doing demolition driving, and Sly's grown into a quiet life with Carmelita, so everyone's really gotten their happy ending and they've all moving forward. But is this going to last? In short terms, no, simply due to the fact that Bentley's been the safeguard of the Thievius Raccoonus since the end of 3 and put his own entry in it, and he notices that one day Penelope disappears, and then the Thievius Raccoonus starts unwriting itself, and the history starts depleting away, and Bentley starts freaking out about this, so he gets the gang back together, builds a time machine, and they all go back in time to basically stop any further damage and save the timeline as much as possible. What kind of storyline does this set up? I'd say it sets up a pretty good one because the gang is going even further into uncharted territory that they do not know anything about and don't know the outcomes of, and they're really doing their best to work around a bad situation and try to keep everything moving forward and actually work to fix the problem, and it all feels necessary. I'd say the one major problem is that the story starts to drag out near the end, but as soon as the game starts dragging, it nips it in the bud and comes to the finale, so it doesn't really start dragging for too long as it runs along. On top of that, there's this one plot twist in the middle that the fan base is really divided on, and I can understand why. I'm preferably okay with it, and I get why they did it. It's setting up more lore for another game in case if there's another Sly game, but at the same time, it really makes you feel really fucking bad for Bentley because ever since 2, it seems like a lot of the emotional and physical damage has been thrown on him as a character, and it really starts to get to me to see my favorite character be constantly abused, man. Leave Bentley alone! Anyway, moving forward. I really like the story overall. It's a solid follow-up, it's not a bullshit angle for them to write off of, and all of the characters are just as great as I remember, and we even get more backstory from characters like Penelope and Carmelita in this game, which I really have no problem with, and then the ancestors too are really fucking cool as characters because they have their own unique personality that's way different from Sly. Hell, some of the ancestors really butt heads with Sly and create interesting plot points. So it's all a really good story that handles itself pretty well. So overall, Sly 4 story-wise is pretty solid, though I can understand why people don't really like the plot twist, and it does drag out a little bit near the end. So with everything being said, the verdict. So in summing everything up here at the verdict, everything comes pretty full circle. The production's pretty good, has a couple problems. The gameplay's pretty good, has a couple problems. The story's pretty good and has a couple problems. But overall, the game is pretty fucking solid, and the best case scenario I could see for a late series revival as it is, and given how cheap this game was compared to a lot of its competition, you honestly can't go wrong. If you're a Sly fan, there's literally almost nothing here not to love as a game. The only thing I would say is that it's not as good as Sly 2, with that being being the peak in the franchise, but it's better than Sly 3, so the quality's there, which is why I'm going to give Sly 4 an 8 out of 10. Simply due to the fact that it does have problems that really need to be addressed, like the couple glitches, the long loading times, Carmelia not really being utilized as a character, and the story dragging out a bit, but they're never really bad enough to where it hampered my experience in any which way to really overdo what was being done excellent in every other field. So if you've been hankering for another Sly game, I'd honestly say play this game, get it. It's definitely worth what it costs now, and if you buy it brand new, it comes with a free Vita copy. So yeah, there's really no reason not to get the game now for the $10 it costs brand new right now. So all in all, Sly 4 is a pretty great game, and I hope you guys like it. That's my opinion. I do have problems with it, but overall, pretty good. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next episode of Sum Up or whatever video I do, and have a great day and an amazing life. Bitches.